ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to StarLadder Season 8. We're here with Day 15 on Beyond the Summit, and we've got QPAD going up against NextKZ, aka Next League. I am Zyori, going to be joined by Hippie for the first few games today, and then I think Merlini may be hopping on to join me for the ladder matches. But alas, we are here in it. We are slightly delayed, and hopefully this game won't be remade. We had a couple of DCs already, but it looks like almost everyone is back in the game, and this draft is transpiring. QPandas did have a little bit of trouble getting everyone here on time, and they were penalized some of that bonus time as they are just about to run out. But alas, Hippie is with me. Hippie, my friend, what's the good word on this fine Sunday morning?
The good word is Dota, as it always is. Anytime there's Dota, that is the one and only word, especially StarLadder Dota.
I like it. I like the enthusiasm, and I'm ready to get on into it here. So let's talk about these bans a little bit. We've got QPanda banning out the Mirana and the Elder Titan. Next League going to ban out the Timbersaw and the Mighty Bristleback. That did open up for a first pick Visage for QPad. Crystal Maiden Clockwork picked up by Next League. And of course, Alchemist second picked by QPad. Now, I know before this draft, Hippie, we were talking a little bit about Hand of Midas and how it has fallen off in popularity following the nerf in 6.79C, which is great to see. I was getting tired of seeing 5, 6, 7 Midas in every single game. But along with that, Alchemist has been this big breakout hero. We've seen so much of him, and he really has been that valued first or second pick pretty much since 6.79C hit, and it seems Game 1 today going to continue on with that trend.
Well, I think part of it is the fact that he can still get the extra gold to secure stuff as a support, and the fact that people are just kind of getting back into the idea of, oh, Alchemist can play more roles than just the one position. Because we remembered from a while back, he can play support, he can play mid, but people were so obsessed with running him one position that he never got the chance. So as a versatile pick like this, I really love it. I'm very happy to see the Alchemist back.
Yeah. Absolutely, and myself included. I'm always curious to see how teams are going to run them. It seems different teams have different fortes with how they like their Alchemist, whether it be support, whether it be mid, or in that one position, which we do still see on occasion. Now, OD is going to be that third pick from Next League, and they are going to ban out, well, a couple of the heroes that fare nicely against the OD, Viper and Kunkka. Of course, Razor still in the pool. If that is something that the Q Pandas want to go for here, they're going to go ahead and grab themselves a Luna with their third pick. And Luna is not a bad choice, a very powerful hero, but one that definitely needs a lot of farming room. One that teams tend to pick when they feel like they'll have a nice safe lane for her to soak up some of that early farm, and a hero that can still grab that Midas at a pretty timely fashion. But I don't know, anytime I see a Luna third pick, it seems to be a bit of a gamble, because every so often you see some aggression come that Luna's way, and well, she's not always the best at recovering, though. She does have that mechanism to clear out the Ancients, paired with the Acid Spray. Ancient stacking is something that can get her back in the game, and we'll see what they do with that fourth pick. But Doom here, going to come out for Next League.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you about the Luna. She is a little risky, especially I feel like when there's already a Clockwork and an OD on the board, because just if the Clockwork lands a hook on that Luna and she doesn't have immediate support, she's just dead. And the Doom just makes that even worse. But at the same time, it does open up a lot of early pushing, especially with the Dragon Knight pick. Once he hits level 6, once Luna has some levels into that aura, along with the Acid Spray from Alchemist, you're not really going to be able to stop QPad from pushing down some early tier 1s. They might be able to choke him up at tier 2s with team fights once the game starts to consolidate a little bit, but tier 1s should fall pretty quickly against this lineup unless we see a really nice anti-pusher coming out from Next.
Yeah, and Dragon Knight going to help assist in that pushing prowess, as well as he will fare nicely against the OD. He is one of those other heroes that does pretty well. Of course, any strength-based hero tends to do pretty well against OD, but that Dragon Blood gives him a good bit of sustainability. And, well, not having that mana pool isn't so bad. He won't be able to shut down OD's farm, but he will be able to grab a fair bit of farm himself. Of course, all things equal. We'll see what Q Pandas want to grab with their last pick. Could be a support pick. It depends, again, how they want to run that Alchemist. But it probably will be a support Alchemist here, and they'll need that offlaner. Bounty Hunter could be an option for him. Could work pretty nicely. Nature's Prophet would have fit in pretty well to that pushing lineup we were talking about. I think a smart fifth ban here from NextKZ.
Could do, I mean, you've been talking a lot about the Rexar. They could do a Rexar. I mean, remember that Rexar fits very nicely into a push lineup with his attack speed aura. Combining that attack speed aura with the Lunar Blessing would be very powerful. I'm not saying it's a particularly likely pick, but it's something that could happen.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and I would love to see a little bit of the Beastmaster, but I don't know, Cute Pandas. I don't think they're a team known for running the Beastmaster, but they very well could try it. Yeah, not particularly. Gyrocopter will be their final ban out. Another one that makes a lot of sense here. Gyrocopter, one of the best anti-pushers in the game. And, oh, all right, not going to be the Rexar, but an interestingly, or a similarly titillating pick here with the Tide Hunter. Oh, boy, we saw him yesterday or the day before. We have seen a little bit of Tide pick, but still a rarity, and one that I enjoy. Love seeing those big Ravages. And, of course, Chen going to be the final pick here for next league.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, actually, that they did ban out the Gyrocopter. I guess they presumed it was going to be a jungling Doom, and were incorrect. It's going to be a one-position Doom instead. But, man, I'm with you with Tidehunter. I love that hero. He is a blast, and ever since the off-lane changes, I've been kind of expecting him to bubble back to the top and be a more common pick, but he hasn't quite made it. I guess people not valuing the Ravage quite as highly as I do. I mean, pretty much the best initiation skill in the game before people have BKB.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the problems. BKB does kind of limit the efforts of Tidehunter just a bit. At a very, very tanky force. Gush, quite the great ability as well for setting up those ganks and moving about. That armor reduction does add up pretty quickly. So I'm pretty excited here. I'm happy to see a Tide get a little bit of love here from the Q Pandas. Now, I feel it is probably a good thing to mention here just at the standings. Next KZ have been faring unbelievably well to start things off in StarLadder. Right now, their standings are...
What, 8-2, 9-2, something like that?
That's it, 8-2. They're at the top. They're under Ahead Gaming, I guess, in the brackets.
Yeah, they got picked up, I think, partway through the season.
Yeah, so that's where the confusion lies. But 8-2, they're actually number 1 right now. They have played the most matches of 10. I think maybe Aspera have played 11, but they've played a lot of games. They are 8-2, currently number 1 in the standings. So
here we go.
Yep, got a lot to look forward to. Looks like we could see a little bit of level 1 action here. Alchemist going to charge up the Concoction. Will connect onto the Doom. Follow-up not going to be there, though. Mantis going to be in a great position in the trees, and will make that follow-up not a possibility for QPad. Still a great level 1 lineup here, and, well, they will throw a ward down right in the middle of the jungle, and, well, maybe looking to put a little bit of aggression onto that Chen. So let's go ahead and introduce our rosters here. On our Radiant side, we do have next KZ, and down in the bottom here, it is going to be equal on the Chen. He will be jungling in the Radiant jungle to start things off, it does appear. Amazing, going to be playing on that Crystal Maiden with that ridiculous-looking Crystal Maiden hood. I still can't get over that thing. It looks like Crystal Maiden and Gyrocopter had a kid, and then got a funky haircut.
That's the IX Mike stash. That's the IX Mike set.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. She's got the little hood that turns it into an IX Mike stash.
That's actually... Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yes,
IX Mike
that's
Pro
the
Gear.
entire joke.
Wow. My mind blown. I thought it was just one of those like, oh, this is cute, and it just sort of looks like a mustache the way it lines up, but that is totally intentional. Oh, man. I'm so glad you're here to just keep me on my toes. That is amazing. Wow, I'm beyond words.
It's glorious. I love that set.
That is beautiful. So, all right, you're going to be joining the Doom here. Mantis going to be on that one-position Doom that you were talking about. Looks like he will be in the bottom lane here. In the mid, it will be Wadafaka playing on the Outworld Devourer, and that means Reeves will be in the off lane here on the Clockwork as he is heading up to that top lane. Though we are stuck in a pause, unfortunately. Hopefully it resumes pretty quickly here. Dude, your Maiden has a mustache. Look at that. They know it. On the Dire side, we do have Team Q Pandas. And the bottom lane, it looks like it will be Blue Banana playing on the Luna. There will be some support coming in on the Visage, played by RM Man. We've got Durham going to be on the Alchemist here, and he is roaming up towards the top lane. Wagamama going to be solo mid on that Dragonite, and there is a stand-in playing the the Tidehunter. I'm not sure which is his real name, Derp Derp or Crapodile. It's Derp Derp. Okay, good. I may call him Crapodile because I do like that name. That's pretty good. Oh boy. So off to a slow start here, Hippie. We are already about 25 minutes behind schedule here into Game 1. So we do have 5 good matches coming up today, though. We can take this opportunity just to glance at our schedule. And coming up next will be Aspera versus Virtus Pro. After that will be Alliance versus Sigma. Game 3 going to be a big one. Then we'll see Q Pandas again up against Rock's Kiss. And our 5th and final match of the day will be Relax coming up against Mouse Sports Relax, also known as Poseidon. They were Poseidon now. Relax, you're doing fine. You're doing fine, Hippie. But should be exciting. Yeah, should be exciting though. I want to see that Alliance Sigma game is going to be a good one. Alliance have sort of been underperforming a little bit in StarLadder. They've been doing pretty well. Of course, they did beat Fnatic just the other day in what tournament was it? I'm slacking here. I read it this morning. Was it Fragbite? No. What did they beat Fnatic in?
I don't know what's being played besides StarLadder right now.
Oh, it just happened yesterday. I'm totally spacing.
So much Dota right now.
Yeah, there is a lot of Dota. But hot off a win against Fnatic. So we'll see how they fare against Sigma. Sigma, another team that is looking pretty hot right now. So Game 3 should be exciting.
Sigma also well known as one of the best of one teams in the business. I mean, you hear people talk about Sigma, you hear people talk about their performance at Columbus. That was one of the big things. They say Sigma is such an incredible best of one team because they can take you off guard so easily.
Absolutely right about that. They do tend to have a slightly different drafting style compared to the other teams here. So, last, it is Game 3. Let's move into this match, as it is going to resume here at the 0-0 mark. It will be a double damage rune at the bottom position, and Visage is going to be able to grab it. So, this will be a long lane tri-lane from the Q Pandas here. Again, the Alchemist, Visage, and Luna. So, Luna should be off to a pretty solid start. That is a damn aggressive tri-lane. And right now, it's just Crystal Maiden in the lane, so she steps too far forward, of course, so they may be able to set up a kill. And Doom is in the jungle to start things off, and will probably be rotating into that lane. But we talked about Luna needing some space, and I think Blue Banana is going to find it down here in the bottom.
Yeah, and I think it's usually when you have a Luna aggressive tri-lane, you want it to be with double range, but having stuff like the Alchemist Stun and the Alchemist Acid Spray makes it no less deadly, especially when you have the Visage Slow to set it up. And the choice of the Doom to just be in the jungle, I actually really like that he's just playing safe, because before Chen's able to rotate against this lane, he would be so incredibly vulnerable. And also, they're definitely looking for some early rotations. Check the Crystal Maiden's inventory, you'll see a pair of smokes. So she'll probably maybe use one of those and hand the other one off to Chen at some point, but they really want to play aggressive early. Maybe rotate on a mid with those.
An interesting opening from Crystal Maiden as well. 1 Clarity and 2 sets of Tangos. Going to be 8 Tangos there. So it looks like they were sort of planning on putting Crystal Maiden in a solo safe lane, and they are going to give Doom jungle priority here. So, just an interesting choice. Usually it would be reversed, where Crystal Maiden is one of those supports that has quite a bit of jungling prowess. Oh boy, in the mid, I thought Whatafaka may be able to grab that courier, but Wagamama cutting it close there for sure as his bottle gets delivered. In the mid, seems fairly even so far. OD 5-5 against the 3-2 Dragon Knight, so Whatafaka is starting to pull ahead just a little bit, but Wagamama holding his own. As we see in the bottom, already these supports moving about, looking to get aggressive here. If they catch the Chen early on, can make for a pretty easy kill, perhaps. But here's that rotation. Now Mantis going to move into the lane, and CM is going to move into the jungle.
Yeah, I'm curious, did they just want to get the level 3 on him, perhaps, for the extra Scorched Earth? What was it they were trying to get on him quickly in the jungle? I'd have to assume that's it, but it's kind of an odd milestone on Doom. You know, level 3 isn't exactly when he hits some sort of peak, so I'm just curious as to what the goal was. But I don't think I'll really know unless I ask them, so I'm not going to speculate any further.
Yeah, well, and he also did go level 2 Scorched Earth, so I would have thought he'd just go this hard farming Devour build in the 1 position, but level 3 is only going to go 1 in Devour. And they are going to try and get a little aggressive here. The Ensnare will come out onto Visage. That did come from the Doom, as he did suck up a Dark Troll Summoner. But the Unstable Concoction comes onto the Chen. Nuke from the Visage as well. Back and forth exchange, but Alchemist the one taking the brunt of the damage. Beautiful path blocking from Blue Banana here that will ensure the survival of his buddy Alchemist, and he is going to be able to get the solve off. Very nice by Blue Banana. Does keep Alchemist alive.
Yeah, that was, I mean, it was really set up by initially very good path blocking from both Mantis and Equal with that Gen creep right there, and locking down the Alchemist in the jungle, preventing him from going in. They probably could have kept him there, but they kind of shimmied a little bit and created an opening. I'm not sure if they just hit hold position, if they would have locked him in, but I'm willing to bet they actually would have, and he would have been dead right there. But it's so hard to know when you're in that perfect position with 2 heroes to not create a gap. That I can't blame them for just going in and trying to get the auto attack damage off, trying to finish him with the Test of Faith.
Yep. So let's take a look at our other lanes here. Still no kills on the board here at the 3.5 minute mark. In the mid, Whatafaka, well, still continuing to pull ahead a little bit, but Wagamama only trailing by about 4 last hits, 11-15, so still pretty solid, about what we would expect in that lane. Up in the top, though, it is going to be the Tide Hunter in the solo safe lane up against the long lane Clockwork here. Reeves seems to be doing pretty well, 10-3 on the Clockwork, 11-5. On the Tide Hunter, so we've got a pretty even spread to start things off. A small golden experience lead here for NextKZ. Well, that experience lead not as small as I thought, upwards of about 1,100 here to start things off, and a lot of that is just because of the Chen. Having Chen in the jungle, a true dedicated jungler, does open up a little bit more farming efficiency than having the 2 tri-lane support, so not too surprising to start things off. Other than that, a pretty even opener on our hands. Luna is leading the way in last hits, 18-7, and Doom only 11-3, so it is really the only disparity in terms of last hits. Blue Banana is our leader, slightly outfarming the Doom, but of course that Devour mechanism does give him a little bit more leeway in terms of grabbing that bit of bonus gold. And with the, well, lack of Midas play, I guess you could say, here in 6.79C, it seems that both Doom and Alchemist have been a little bit more prevalent picks, as they do have those built-in Midas tools between the Grievel's Greed and the Devour. And we've just been seeing them at sort of an increasing frequency, and I can't say that I'm too surprised.
I mean, anything that gets you more gold. A lot of times, if you have just a huge gold lead by 20 minutes, your lineup is important, but not quite as much who has the stronger carry, who has everything. You can compensate a lot for that with, an early mech, early pipe, whatever you need to counter the enemy team's composition. I am kind of worried for Q-Pad because they're one position Doom. I mean, he'll have the Devourer to help him keep up, but he might be in trouble right here.
Oh, up in the top lane as well. Reeves and Derp going toe-to-toe. Looks like Derp might be able to finish him off for the first blood. No, he's going to get hit by the cogs. Reeves might be able to turn it around. And, of course, down in the bottom lane, some action does come out. They actually grab the first blood down here. It is going to be Luna that finishes off the Doom, as you mentioned. And Clockwork did finish off the Tide. So, a burst of action here on the top and bottom lanes, and I guess Q-Panda actually going to come out the better of it. They will get the first blood on the Luna, and it will cost them their Tide up in the top. And yeah, shutting down that one position Doom, a very high-profile kill. So that is good news. I did miss it down here in the bottom lane as I was looking up top. What was the skinny here on Doom Fallen?
Oh, it was the little OD taking out Dragon Knight.
That was...
I mean, not really that difficult for him to do if Dragon Knight just kind of commits a little bit too far and doesn't have the mana for a stun. It's very, very easy for Wadafaka to just auto attack him down. I mean, extra armor or not, when your OD is swinging for over 100 this early, he only has 1 point in the Dragon Blood, so he doesn't have like a huge stack of armor. He's of course putting the points into Breathe Fire for lane control. But if he's using the Breathe Fire and all his int is drained, he's not going to be able to get off that Dragon Tail to protect himself.
Yeah. In all honesty, I'm a little bit surprised to see this classic DK build here, the 3-1-1, and of course the level 6 grabbing that point in the ulti. It's a pretty standard build. You do get to farm with Breathe Fire, but against OD, you don't get to use that Breathe Fire nearly as much as you'd like, and it seems that at least extra point in Dragon's Blood going like a 2-1-2 opener at level 5 seems to work a little bit better against OD. I don't know if that would have been enough to keep him alive, but still just one of those disparities. And now that mid lane really going to go the way of NextKZ though. OD, the leading farmer, now 36-16, and poor Dragon Knight only 14-3. So Wagamama really going to need some support here. I think if they could smoke and maybe roam up into the mid lane and get a kill on that OD, that would well, work wonders for Q-Pandas here.
Absolutely, and I do kind of agree that the extra Dragon Blood might have helped him live right there, but at the same time, how are you going to get any last hits generally before level 6 if you don't have Breathe Fire as Dragon Knight? If you're not maxing it, that's the majority of his laning presence is how good that is. So as long as he gets it off every time he has the ability to and gets a couple last hits with it, because look at how poorly he's going to do just because he can't compete on the base damage with all of the Astral Drain.
It's true, but here, I mean,
Breathe Fire wouldn't get anything.
With 2 insteals, he doesn't even have enough to use Breathe Fire. So it's one of those, if that extra point in Dragon Blood had prevented that death, and I don't know. I can see it both ways. I see where you're coming from, but his mana pool is now just so minuscule, it's a moot point either way. And now Wagamama actually going to be in a little bit of trouble perhaps. Alchemist will port in, going to throw the concoction on to Chen. Wadafaka does not have a Sanity's Eclipse here, so may need to be a little bit careful. Visage going to come in as well. Wadafaka taking a lot of damage. They are going to try to pursue. He does have the brown boots, and he will survive. Of course, while all that's happening up in the top, Clockwork going to grab another solo kill on the Tidehunter. Another very close call. Those 4 points in Battery Assault. Perhaps Tidehunter just underestimating the power of that Battery Assault in the early levels. But Clockwork really dominating this top lane here at this point. Still trailing in last hits by a few.
Luna doomed.
2-0. Yeah, down in the bottom lane. They're going to dive the tier 1. There's the Frostbite, and that is going to secure the kill onto Blue Banana. Alchemist going to come in. He's going to throw his stun, but he needs to be a little bit careful here as well. Germ just going to rotate towards the tower, and he should be safe. Indeed, he will. But Mantis and Amazing may not get away scot-free. They're going to get pinched. Wagamama going to rotate his way over. Still no mana pool whatsoever. Nothing he can do about it. Amazing just going to move into the Roche Pit and hope for a deny here, perhaps. No? Is he going to pick up an item? I think just hoping for the deny, but Visage is going to grab that last hit.
Yeah, that's the risk when you TP both of your supports away from your aggressive tri-lane. We talked about how Luna is a very squishy and vulnerable hero. I mean, with 2 supports backing her up against this team, yeah, sure, she can be fine. You can pressure people out of lane. But you saw, just 30 seconds after those TPs happened, after all those fights happened mid, and they're like, all right, they're not coming back. They're not able to get back. Boom. Doom on the Luna, freeze her with the Crystal Maiden, and she's just done.
Yep, absolutely right. And with that, OD going to grab himself a Midas here. Not the fastest Midas we've seen here, right around the 9-minute mark. Of course, in the mid lane, you do have to get your boots first, so you can't just go straight Midas. But reasonably quick here, and I think Wadafaka is going to pick up a good bit of momentum, going to start using that Midas cooldown straight away. And we'll see how that continues to increase his farm. No Midases on the field for Q-Pandas, and I don't know that they're going to grab any here. Luna, the only one that might make good use of it. But looks like she's just going to go for an early drum build, perhaps, as she does have those bracers. We see a smoke down to the bottom lane, but Luna is going to rotate here, and that smoke effort will be thwarted. Looks like Luna is going to rotate to the top lane, and we'll see where Q-Pandas want to go. Sort of an interesting play. I guess they're just going to leave Doom to his own devices down here. which, well, can be a scary precedent, because unchecked, he will start to get out of control. Looks like they do want to get aggressive. Luna is level 6, wants to use that Eclipse, and it looks like next KZ going to be the aggressors here. Hookshot in the Dragon Knight. He is going to survive for now. Ravage going to come in as well, and that'll finish off the OD. Crystal Maiden going to fall shortly after. Dragon Knight not going to live to tell the tale, but Reeves going to way overcommit here, and I think he's going to be stuck. He is going to try and do some fancy footwork. Gush going to come out. Lucent Beam as well. Cogs, no way to go. Nowhere to go, I should say. So it will be a 1 for 3. Dragon Knight takes a spill, but they grab a much-needed kill on that Outworld Devourer. And now, all of a sudden, Luna going to take over as number 1 on that net worth chart. Now, Alchemist trying to pursue the Chen is going to have a concoction up in just a few seconds here. That Centaur stun may be enough to keep the Chen alive. No, Alchemist going to channel it once again. Equal going to be in big trouble here. Durham going to continue to pursue. That Frostbite going to slow down Blue Banana, but not going to be enough. Chen will turn and make for an easy kill there. For the Luna with that last Lucent Beam. Now Luna in kind of a bad spot. Blue Banana just going to try and move into the trees, looking for a spot to port out, not going to find it. Unfortunately for him, Doom does have the Centaur Stomp in his repertoire of skills, and that will be the end of the Luna. But still a nice little run for Q Panda, and Luna does hang on to that, well, close to the leading spot of net worth.
You know, just before that fight started, I was thinking to myself, well, okay, OD's not going mech because Chen's getting it, so I'd like to see OD go something for durability, because I think in these team fights, he's just going to get completely blown up, and lo and behold, he gets, you know, he goes a little bit too far, he gets stunned, he gets ravaged, and he just dies before he gets almost anything off. He did manage to land the Sanity's Eclipse, he got off a couple of Arcane Orbs, so it wasn't necessarily a bad showing from him, but I'd really like to see something like a rushed BKB against this team, just because, you know, negating Visage Slow, that damage, being able to get through the Ravage, the Dragon Knight stun, there's so many good things to block, and OD without some sort of survivability mechanism, sure, he puts out a ton of damage, and he can be a very frightening force if left unchecked, but there's just too much control on Cupad, and he's not. It looks like he's going to be going for the Force Staff.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Usually with OD, that opener is either a Force Staff or a mech, sometimes both, but as you mentioned, Chen grabbing the mech here, he's going to have to go something else, and I think even Force Staff into BKB might be a good build for OD, and then moving into something like a Sheep Stick, some sort of an int-based, hard-hitting item, but absolutely on the same page, my friend. BKB will certainly be a necessity in this match, even against the Luna as well. Does work wonders against that Lucent Beam and the Eclipse. A lot of magic damage in tandem with all that crowd control. Speaking of BKBs, though, looks like that's the build that Luna is going to be going for here. Blue Banana, he does have that Ogre Club already. Not going to be grabbing the drums as I initially thought, just going to sit on that casual bracer for now. May opt to upgrade it at a latter point in the match here. Equal and Amazing will smoke up, though. That's going to be the Chen as well as the Crystal Maiden. Chen does have a couple of creeps here. 2 Centaurs and 1 Satyr Tormentor. And it looks like they do want to set up a kill on poor Crapodile up here. Reeves is going to harass him back a little bit.
Cupad backstabbing.
Yep, and here we go. Tidehunter going to be in big trouble. The Ravage is going to come out. That'll be the end of the Crystal Maiden to start it off. Chen going to fall as well. Cupad coming around the backside will keep their Tide alive and make it a 2-for-0 exchange. Now Reeves going to be on the run. I think he'll be able to survive, but it may cost them this top tier 1 tower, as they are going to try and counter push. They are going to get at least one of these Chen creeps as well. A nice 70 gold bounty going the way of Cupad. Great rotation, great support as well. If they hadn't come, that certainly would have been a dead Tide.
I'm not really sure. Maybe it was game sense. Maybe they said, okay, our Tidehunter's probably going to get ganked. But I think, honestly, they were just looking for the gank on the Clockwork, who looked like he was solo in lane. They smoked up in the jungle back near where Luna was farming. And they went in. They just happened to run in just as Chen and Crystal Maiden showed up. So it was very, very fortuitous timing for them to be able to take that fight. But this is... Cupad just has a lineup that you're not going to 5-man against unless you have the Doom available and unless you have the OD Sanity's Eclipse. Ooh, yep. Clockwork.
And Doom does have it available. He's going to port up. Clockwork does hop in onto the Dragon Knight, and that is going to be a dead Dragon Knight. Now Mantis ready to continue forward here. He still has that ulti ready and waiting. Not going to need it to finish off Crapodile. That will be the end of the Tide. Blue Banana going to fall as well. That Sanity's Eclipse from Wadafaka doing a lot of damage. He did have a haste rune to boot. And that's going to be a 4-for-0 swing now the other way. Next KZ with the response. They didn't even use the Doom ulti right there. Nice hook shot from Clockwork to start it off.
Absolutely. It was just Cupad getting a little bit too aggressive. I mean, they saw that Crystal Maiden, they didn't have particularly long res times, next KZ didn't, because they're still reasonably low level. So they felt pretty comfortable getting back in. They had the Chen ulti available for that fight because they hadn't used it previously. And so, on top of that, the rotation's coming in. Ulti's already being used by Cupad. I think with the Tidehunter ulti down and the Eclipse down, they really should have thought a little harder before trying to push into that. It was just altogether iffy.
Yeah, and this is one of these interesting games where really both teams are cooldown based in their team fight prowess. Both of them have these huge, big, long cooldown ultis, and that's how we're really seeing these team fights transpire. Which team has their cooldowns and which team is making better use of those high-ticket abilities. And, well, that really explains why it was a very one-sided fight one way, and then their abilities are on cooldown, and then the opposite happens. The other team takes a very convincing fight, so I definitely agree with you. When they don't have that Ravage, they need to be much more careful. But down to the bottom lane, Reeves going to be in some trouble here. He will take a concoction. He gets the cogs off, but nothing besides that, as Dragon Knight does come in with a Dragon Tail as well. So there you go. Q Panda is going to press forward once again and start chipping away at this tier 1 in the bottom lane. But up in the top, Doom going to burn that ulti on Tide. Crystal Maiden going to come in with a Frostbite. That will be an easy kill on the mighty Tide Hunter. Poor Derp. He has just not had a good game so far. He's been picked on, sitting at 3-4-1 right now. So he's picked up a couple of kills, but has conceded quite a few deaths. All the while, Q Panda is going to pressure the bottom tier 1 tower. Don't know that it's going to fall. They are going to port mid. Not going to get there in time to save this tier 1. And this might be a mistake. If they don't at least trade a tier 1 for a tier 1, they are going to get it with the Visage Familiars. But the port's going to be just a bit too late if their plan was to make a defense there in the mid lane.
Yeah, and so we've seen the OD actually finish within the last couple of minutes his 4-staff. I mean, he got it very, very quickly, especially with that triple kill he just picked up. He's got another 1,700 gold, not spending it on anything. I'm wondering if he wants to go the Hex first, if he wants to go that kind of very, very aggressive build, and maybe save the BKB so he doesn't lower the cooldown too much by popping it early. But no, as I'm saying that, he buys the Mithril Hammer, so he will probably be going for his BKB. I keep speculating, and I'm just I'm getting everything all out of order for him this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Luna getting closer to her BKB as well. And both sides have picked up a pretty well-timed mech here, right around that 15-minute mark. And anytime you see a game like this where there's a good bit of early aggression, mech is your saving grace. If you can grab it ahead of the opponents, it can give you really a big teamfight advantage, but both sides will grab it at a pretty timely manner. Next KZ, though, going to take a huge gold swing, upwards of about 7,500 gold and about 10,000 experience. And part of that is that Midas on OD really starting to kick in. Doom also with that farming tool, of course, to Devour, kind of like a Hand of Midas itself. He is doing quite well in the net worth chart. And Q Pandas, without those farming tools with this support Alchemist in particular, no points in Grievel's Greed. They're just slowly getting out farmed. They need to continue to take some positive team fights here if they want to get back into it. All hope is not lost for QPad, but definitely need to keep the aggression on. They did just clear out, I think, was that a double stack of Ancients, or a little pick-me-up there for Luna, but still, not a hell of a lot. Looks like a smoke from RMN as well as Durham here. They are going to rotate down to the bottom. Looks like they do want to pick on Reeves. Unstable Concoction going to get charged. Acid Spray comes out. The nukes from Visage. This should be a pretty easy kill into the Clockwork. Nice control from the Visage to use the stuns. And that will be the end of the Clockwork. So, a nice free kill going their way. Though, Blue Banana in big trouble. Oh, what a fucker. Going to find himself the easiest kill he's going to find all game. Blue Banana low in the jungle. Just a couple of right clicks to finish him off. Now, what a fucker. Going to continue onward here, trying to finish off the Tide Hunter. And, oh, man, that Sanity's Eclipse. A little bit of overkill. That's an easy double kill for What a fucker. And now things looking a little bit more grim for the Q Pandas. Not only is their Luna going to be further behind, but What a fucker picking up 2 solo kills. Now going to be level 15. Oh, no.
I honestly really like the use of the Sanities right there, because he knew he was really close to a tier 2, he knew he'd been spotted for a while, and you already had the Dragon Knight rotating in, who he actually couldn't see. He had no idea he was there until he actually landed the Eclipse and Dragon Knight walked out, but he knew that the rotations were coming, that there were 3 heroes, and that there were still good disables available and good damage. Yep. It was smart use to get it and get out, especially because the longer you delay, oh, never mind, you can't delay the Tidehunter Blink Dagger any longer. It's in his stash. It's going to say, you want to keep the Tidehunter down. I like the pressure they're putting on him, but he comes out with a reasonably timely Arcane and Blink Dagger. 18 minutes, even though he's been getting picked on this whole game.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, a lot faster than I would have thought. I hadn't been paying attention to his inventory, but that is a huge item pickup. And speaking of big item pickups, OD now going to have his BKB. So this whole time, What a fuck, been walking around with just a 4-staff. He's already 6-1-1. Now he's going to be even harder to shut down in these team fights. And this is really that point where that snowball effect is going to come into play. Especially once he hits level 16 as well. Hit at level 16, way ahead. The highest level on Q Pandas right now is 11. He's a full ulti level ahead of everyone else. And yeah, that Sanity's Eclipse is going to hurt in these upcoming team fights. That's an understatement. It's going to be bad. More BKBs on the way, though. That is going to be the name of the game this match. Both sides have a ton of magic damage, a ton of big abilities, as we mentioned, and BKBs aplenty. Looks like next KZ going to be working towards BKBs on the Clockwork, as well as the Crystal Maiden. Ogre Club's already in the inventories. And on the dire side, Luna close to her BKB. Dragon Knight with the Ogre Club as well. Well on his way to that big magic immunity piece. Top lane here, though. Q Panda's doing a pressure that top tier 1 tower. Reeves gonna hook shot in. Blue Banana gonna come in with an Eclipse right there. Mantis does have the BKB on. He will get right click down. Whatafaka gonna use his BKB as well. No Sanity's Eclipse, but still doing a hell of a lot of damage. That'll be the end of the Dragon Knight, and there's just no slowing down this OD. The Force Staff forward. That's the end of the Visage as well. It's a 2-for-0 to start things off, but whoa, it's not over quite yet. Reeves maybe in a little bit of trouble here. Mech gonna come out.
Still have Ravage.
Yep, he is going to get the defensive Astral, and he will survive. As you mentioned, Ravage still up, Blink Dagger off cooldown, but the follow-up not going to be there. Not the best Eclipse coming out from the Luna either. Took a lot of beams on the BKB Doom, so obviously not a lot of damage coming out. Whatafaka going to hop forward here. Alchemist going to get thrown in the Astral, and he is going to be in big trouble. Charging up that Concoction, he's going to die before it even goes off. There's the Ravage from the Tide. That'll be enough to finish off Doom. Luna coming in with her BKB on. Whatafaka just going to stand his ground. He's going to be able to finish off the Tide. Sanity's Eclipse comes out. Unfortunately, the BKB for Luna was still on. Oh, a nice Astral coming out from that OD. It will keep him alive, and Luna will fall. He'll walk away with just about 40 hit points to his name. Well played by Whatafaka right there. Not going to be able to make it out. Wagamama going to come in with a Breathe Fire for a little bit of vengeance. So a very chaotic exchange, but the tower is defended. A deny comes out from Clockwork on that top tier 1, and I think safe to say Next KZ do come out ahead in that exchange.
Yeah, decidedly. I mean, it was a 5-for-3, I think, at the end, because the Visage and the Dragon Knight actually rezzed and came back in. They get picked off very, very early. But I was really actually impressed by Derp's his composure and how careful he was about not wasting the Ravage, because he canceled it several times during that fight. First time he tried to go in with it, he saw the OD BKB go off, canceled it. Then he saw he was only going to catch maybe one hero, canceled it. He thought about using it when the chase was happening on 3, but realized he didn't have the follow-up, canceled it. He used it when it actually mattered, when they knew nobody more could get away, when they knew they'd get a couple more kills out of it. So if he had burnt that earlier, would have been a dead Luna and a dead Tide with nothing to show for it. So those extra 3 kills were all because of him.
Yeah, exactly right. It was definitely a great Ravage. And, yeah, if Luna's BKB wasn't used when it was, it would have been a much easier engage for that OD and probably could have just finished it off with that Insanity's Eclipse. But alas, the BKB was on, and, well, she took no damage. So, let's see here. OD now going to be 8, 2, and 4 on that KDA chart. Still very scary indeed. Have any other big items been picked up following that fight? No, Doom did have his BKB before that fight started, but now Clockwork, being played by Reeves here, going to be very close to his. Does have the Mithril Hammer in the bank, and about 500 off that recipe. Crystal Maiden, well, not quite as close, but still 1,400 in the bank to go with that Ogre Club. So, she's just about a recipe away from a BKB as well. On our dire side, Dragon Knight, the one who has just continued to fall behind in this match, though. He had a rough start in the early game. He's number 4 on the net worth chart, so making some okay recovery here, but still well, a little ways off that BKB. And that's one thing NextKZ have done well, is keep this Dragon Knight down, that's for sure.
Well, it's just such a hard matchup for him to get anything done in the first place. Wagamama working his little dragon butt off to try and get anything done this game. You'd think they would do a little bit of stacking so he could clear it up, because, you know, Luna is doing decently on her farm. She could probably use a stack or two because of the deaths she's taken. She's sitting at 5 and 5. But at the same time, the Dragon Knight can clear stacks very effectively as well, and it would be nice to get him a little bit more. Get him to finish his BKB, which he's still the Mithril Hammer short of. So, you know, the Ancients are getting stacked up, but maybe give him to Dragon Knight instead of Luna. I don't know. Oh, he had... Nope, Mithril Hammer was on the courier. There we go. He's got his BKB.
Yeah, okay. Not quite as bad as I thought then. My apologies. It was hiding via the courier, as you mentioned. And a smoke actually going to be used by Q Pandas here now that they've got their second BKB in tow, and it looks like they do want to rotate into the Roche pit. But NextKZ going to be right nearby on their side of the river. We'll take a look at the NextKZ vision, and they actually don't know. This was a crafty little smoke right here. They don't have much ward coverage, so they might be able to grab a Roshan kill, but if NextKZ are wise to it, if they scout it out with one of these Chen creeps perhaps, they can take a good fight. And oh, here it is. NextKZ going to burn a smoke of their own, and we can see on the minimap there, they are going to rotate their way through the bottom rune spawn up into the Dire tier 2, but alright, not going to be able to contest Roshan time. Now QPAG going to take an engage. Luna going to use the Eclipse. BKBs come out right away. There's the Hand of God to help pick up the powers of NextKZ. Luna going to fall. She's going to come back. Won't have that BKB. Doom going to come out onto the Tide Hunter, and oh no, this fight just chaos for both sides, but it looks like NextKZ will come out ahead. Doom is going to buy back. They kill Luna twice. Whatafaka saving that Sanity's Eclipse towards the end, and unfortunately for Luna, that Aegis just not going to do much for her. Did burn the BKB and Eclipse before she went down, so when she popped back up, had absolutely nothing, maybe one Lucent Beam, a couple of right clicks, but very convincing fight for NextKZ. Q-Pandas did grab Roche, and they got that little bit of gold, but it ends up being a 1-for-4 Doom for everyone except the Dragon Knight on the side of Q-Pandas.
Yeah, and that, oh man. I don't know if NextKZ did it consciously or if it was just kind of how everything went, but they basically, so they're sitting there, they have both their BKBs running on their critical heroes, right? They have the Doom and the OD BKBs running. And so the Tidehunter, once again, is holding his ultimate, holding it. He walks in the middle of all of them, and just as the BKBs are running up, Doom says, all right, now you're not allowed to cast anything because he'd been holding it the entire time. So that entire fight, Tidehunter was a non-factor, and when you have a Tidehunter on your team, you can't let him get marginalized like that. He has to sit back, he has to get the initiation, but he really waited. And by the time he was ready to go in the first place, like, he was smoked up waiting on the side, right around there, and just wasn't willing to go in because he wanted to wait until the BKBs had already been popped. And it ended up costing him it this time.
Yeah.
You know, last time I thought it was a really, really good move. This time, questionable.
Well, I think it would have been fine if Doom didn't save that ulti, but it was well played by Mantis. That is really the target you want to hit. If he hasn't ravaged yet, really either the Luna or the Tide. If you can catch him before they burn those big ultis and finish them with that ulti still off cooldown, that is going to be a victory. And as we see, Tidehunter still has that Ravage. So, well played by Mantis. We'll see a little bit of Ancient stacking here coming about. Next KZ, it was a good, at least a quad stack, if not more. And they will be able to clear it out here. Going to just burn the mech, and a little bit more Ancient stacking here coming out for Q-Pandas, but I'd say Next KZ have managed their Ancients a lot better. This is only a double stack for Luna, and it was sitting there for quite a while. So a small pick-me-up for Blue Banana, but not much compared to the stack that Next KZ just cleared out. Now OD, just a hop and a skip ahead of everyone else here. 14K on the net worth, and Blue Banana still yet to break the 5 digits, trying to make that 10K mark. And here, Blue Banana could be in a little bit of trouble. Smoking to be revealed. Blue Banana on the high ground. He is going to burn that BKB. What a fucking, just going to lay into him, though. And, yeah, down he goes. It looks like, was that an Eclipse burned at the very end? It was, and he's going to fall before that Eclipse even gets to burn a whole lot of beams. BKB's popped aplenty here by Next KZ. Doom going to be used on the Dragon Knight. They're going to continue to pursue. Alchemist hiding in the trees is going to get picked off. Hook shot forward from Reeves. Not going to be the best, but there's the Ravage from Tide. That'll secure a kill onto the Crystal Maiden. Mantis going to have to retreat here, but Visage going to fall in the fray. They're going to try to continue to pursue. Doom still up on the Dragon Knight. Now it's going to expire. Sanity's Eclipse going to come in. That's a rampage for what a fucker. Oh, man, a Crystal Maiden in exchange for the entire Q-Panda team. All 5 kills going the way of what a fucker. 15, 2, and 5. This is one meaty Outworld Devourer hippie.
6 kills too. The Luna bought back, man. The Luna bought back and went in again because they're sitting there. They're watching the BKBs run, right? And so this is probably about how it went on their comms. Derp says, "Okay, I have Ravage. When BKBs are up, everyone go back in." So Luna buys back. She TP's in. The Ravage goes off, but they just don't have the damage, and especially not the AOE. When the Eclipse is down, the Dragon Knight was still doomed when that happened, so he wasn't really able to do much. A lot of damage had already been done, and they just weren't able to focus down anyone in the period of that Ravage. And as you can see, it backfired pretty hard.
Yeah, and if Luna was going to buy back there, it was just a terrible Eclipse. He used it as kind of a last-ditch effort when he had just a few hit points to spare. And, of course, I think it got maybe 2 beams off, if that, before he died. And, yeah, obviously, that's not what you want to do with that Eclipse. If he had still had it up after that Ravage and after he bought back, they may have had a chance to try and at least pick up a few more kills than just the Crystal Maiden, but not the best coordination of their abilities. Also, just the crowd control on Dragon Knight. He never got to use Elder Dragon form, and that was another big portion of the Next KZ victory right there. And of course, following that fight, what a fucking now going to have himself that Scythe of Ice. And he is level 19. So this is just, yeah, bad news bears for Q-Panda. This OD is officially out of control. Chen going to have a Necronomicon as well. Actually, a Necronomicon level 2, as he does have the recipe in the bank. Necronomicon coming out for Clockwork as well. And Doom going to be working towards that Assault Cuirass.
It's gone. He's got the whole thing on the courier.
Plenty of pushing power. Oh, the Assault Cuirass is on the courier. Oh, my. So that is an Assault Cuirass. So, yeah, now that pushing prowess of Next KZ really going to start to explode.
Absolutely. And this may be a little bit beyond recoverable. I mean, looking at the graphs, over 15,000 for Next KZ in gold and over 20,000 for experience. I would contend that QPAD has the better late-game team, but they're just not going to get there. I mean, if NextKZ lets this game drag on for 30 or 40 minutes, sure, maybe QPAD can still win, but this is looking very, very grim. I think they need a perfect Tidehunter initiation before any BKBs are off, and they need to somehow chew through the 1,750 hit points on that OD, which is no small task considering not only do you have to get it all done in the space of that one stun because his BKB will be up, but also he's got 13 armor without the Doom AC. So he's going to have 18 with the Doom AC, and it'll be an incredible chore for anyone to kill him. And as soon as he's out of that, he pops his BKB, hexes someone, and you die.
Yep. The only reason I think this may not be salvageable for Q Panda here, the lead for NextKZ is not insurmountable, but the issue is just farming tools. They've got Doom and the lone hand of Midas in this game. Q Panda just don't have the farming tools. Even if this turned into a 30-minute farm fest and NextKZ gave him a lot of farming room, I still don't think Q Panda just have the farming tools needed to overtake this OD, because he's the only one carrying a Midas right now. They haven't been doing a great job stacking their Ancients. If they were really on point, had a Helm of the Dominator, and they were constantly stacking the Ancients, and Luna could just keep clearing those out back to back to back throughout this game, then maybe they could farm it back, but it's just not something that the Q Pandas have been doing. And I think that would be a necessity to farm back into this match. And here we see them grouped up. Yeah. They do want to defend this tier 2 top, but we'll see here, Hippie.
There would have to be zero pressure for the next 30 minutes for the Luna to... Because, I mean, Luna has an amazing farming tool in those glaives. It's absolutely insane. But at the same time, if you've got pressure on you and you're already behind, there's not a lot she's going to be doing with it.
And you need the stacks. That's the other big thing. You need the stacks to be able to use that tool to the fullest extent of its effectiveness, and OD can just walk around and suck him up with that hand of gold. Here's a nice Ravage initiation, though, from Derp. They're going to try and finish off Whatafaka. It's going to be successful. He'll instant buyback here. Now a nice Eclipse going to come, but that'll be the end of the tide to start things off. BKB's popped aplenty. Luna going to be sucking the cogs, trying to finish off the Doom, but she's going to fall. This fight's still going well for NextKZ. OD going to be back in the fight before too long here. He did port to that tier 2 in the mid, and he's on his way. Now Alchemist headed for the hills. Dragon Knight will survive with just a handful of hit points, and I think this Alchemist will be slated to fall. Reeves in hot pursuit. Nope, not going to be able to catch him, but still, NextKZ will trade a 1 for 3, and now that OD is back in the mix, there's the Sheepstick. A few right clicks ought to do it. Down goes the Alchemist. Hastrune as well, bottled up, or was on that OD. He did grab it on his way, so that, well, just a stroke of luck. It was a top position Hastrune, and that got him back to the fight even more quickly. He's just going to press forward here. He's going to try and solo down the Dragon Knight. That's going to be an Astral Imprisonment. Doesn't have the Sheepstick coming up for another 14, but BKB going to be popped. Just going to lay into Wagamama. We see him headed for the hills. Reeves going to throw the hook shot. Is going to connect with his good buddy Whatafaka, but there's the Sanity's Eclipse, and that's going to be the end of the Dragon Knight. And I think this will be a top lane of Rax, at the very least here for NextKZ. They'll be able to rotate. Well, not mid, as that tier 2 is still standing, but still going to be able to do a crippling amount of damage here. Might just rotate down to the bottom, perhaps. We'll see.
Well, they did exactly what I said they needed to do in that team fight, which was go in and commit on the OD, and then discovered that as soon as they committed on the OD and everything was spent, they're like, oh, how do we kill the other 4 guys?
Now what? Yeah.
Yeah, because you still have to chew through the Doom, man. He's still got 2200. I didn't mention the Doom. I probably should have. But I really think the initiation was actually quite good, and if they'd gotten a couple like that before they were so underfarmed, they'd really be contending in this game.
Yep.
That was actually a very good start. They just couldn't follow it up, and this is going to be brutal.
Yeah, you're right. In that team fight, as you said, the plays were right. It's just now a matter of not having the survivability, not having the damage to overtake the tankiness of NextKZ as a team. Between the mech, between the Hand of God, there's a lot of sustain, a lot of survivability over there. And the Assault Kuros as well, another big presence in that fight. It was also a nice set of cogs from Reeves as he did come in, and we'll see it here. Another hookshot going to be used. Luna going to fall. That will be a buyback. OD just in the front lines here. Terrassing his way through Manhattan, just right-clicking with those orbs. That'll be the end of the Visage now, and it may cost OD his life. Maybe overcommitting into the tier 4s. Indeed it will, but some others going to fall. Luna going to be one of the lone survivors. Down she goes. Now it's just Wagamama. He's going to get doomed. Amazing! Gonna get off an amazing freezing field, but he will fall as he tanks the tier 4s. All 5 members of Q Panda's down, and at this point, it is just a matter of time. I think anytime they want to tap out, it is warranted here as NextKZ do clear out the mid lane of Rax and may be able to either take out the tier 4s or just move to the bottom lane. Alchemist, the only one up, and he will remain the lone defender here for another 25 seconds or so before that tide pops up, as well as the Visage.
Yes, I mean, not to say this was unexpected, but it's certainly an excellent showing from NextKZ. I mean, they really hit everything they needed to. They took advantage of openings from the very beginning of the game. Whenever they saw that there was a decent opening, they just went for it. And Chen building a Dagon now. He knows it's done. But, like, you know, the early pressure on the Luna, you know, as soon as they knew that they had space, as soon as Doom knew he had space to farm, there were so many little things they did to kind of stack the deck in their favor in the beginning. And the pressure on the Tidehunter delaying his Blink Dagger, I think, was really, really big as well. Because it wasn't delayed forever, but it meant the OD got up a BKB around when and the OD and the Doom both had BKBs about when the Tide had his Blink. And if there hadn't been that pressure on Tide, if he had just been free farming the safe lane, he probably would have had it closer to like 12 or 13 minutes with those Arcane Boots. Yeah. So that was absolutely huge to slow him down just those 5 minutes.
Yep, I do definitely agree with you on that front, my friend. Clockwork, there were a lot of close exchanges. Clockwork actually in the solo lane ended up picking 2 solo kills onto the Tidehunter. And both of them were very close, where I think Tide thought he could commit to the kill, especially the first one where Tide dove the tower and Reeves just slightly outplayed him. So all things equal, I think that shouldn't really go that way, where Clockwork is able to pick up solo kills unless the Tidehunter overcommits, and that's exactly what happened. So definitely not the perfect game here coming out from Derp. Oh, Blue Banana, he's going to go ahead and burn the Eclipse onto a BKB Doom. Doom just going to stand his ground, and that will be the end of the Luna as he just chops that wood. He does have a Radiance now as well. Tide going to connect with a decent Ravage here, but the follow-up just not going to be there. Alchemist going to fall. Doom still tanking it. He may go down. Nope, Met comes out. Oh, he's going to fall before the end, but everything burned to try and finish off the Doom. Not the best Eclipse, and there it is. A little bit of trash talk coming out from the Alchemist. I like it. Owned.
Hey, man, they got the Doom. Accomplishment.
Accomplishment.
Exactly what they needed.
So it is going to be the GG well played. Where is your god now, Mantis? Oh, the smack talk. I love it. I absolutely love it. That is going to be GG well played, though. Next, KZ will continue their string of dominance here in StarLadder Season 8. That will now push them 9-2 in the standings, and they are continuing their spot as #1 in the round-robin portion of StarLadder Season 8. Very well played. And Q Pandas will have to try their luck next time, guys. We've got plenty more Dota coming your way. That was game 1 of 5 today for StarLadder Season 8, Day 15. I'm Zyori. With me is Hippie. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned, because Beyond the Summit continues on with our next match.